It's both befuddling and disappointing that Nigeria stands at number 140 on the Global Corruption Perception Index ladder. No doubt an extremely scary indication of the country's laissez-faire attitude to corruption. How does this report impact the government's fight against corruption, if indeed the country is fighting this menace that negatively impacts governance and accountability with its debilitating consequences? Nigeria's former President Muhammadu Buhari was appointed Africa anti-corruption champion based on his posture and body language perceived intolerance to corruption. So what does this report say about the fight against corruption under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's watch? Delighted to have the chairman, Transparency International Nigeria, and Executive Director, CISLAC, Anti-Corruption Watchdog Organization, Mr. Auwal Rafsanjani. He joins us on Arise Prime Time. Auwal, glad to have you, join us.
Thank you, and good evening, viewers.
Yeah, okay. What's your interpretation of this, climb? In 2023, Nigeria ranked 25 over 100, 145 out of 180. I would even ask how credible and transparent is Transparency International Index. And then what's your interpretation of this ranking? Now we have moved 5 places, 140 to 180.
Thank you very much. So indeed, the Transparency International Corruption Perception Index has been tested and had been reviewed by competent institutions and even country, including European Union. So one of the best methodology to carry out this kind of index. Secondly, Transparency International also depends on other sources to arrive at ranking or position in any country. And for Nigeria, we have about 10 sources for this year. And incidentally, some of these sources, Nigeria is even member of those sources. For example, African Development Bank, Nigeria is part of it. Nigeria is part of the World Bank. Nigeria is also part of the Global Forum on democracy, which is looking at how democracy is assessed in the country in terms of the political party, in terms of election, and what have you. So these sources are credible and are tested. They are not just, sources that are being speculated. They are, reliable, dependable, objective, and they have been tested over the years. So it's not about there's no bias or there's no any thing that might, undermine the integrity of these, sources. Secondly, you do not even need Transparency International to know that there's a prevalence of corruption in Nigeria in public sector. From the security sector to the procurement to the judiciary, these are things that we are living with. And, I believe Nigerians, they know that there's a consequences to this corruption if government and the Nigerian people did not rise up to do the needful to block the leakages. We all know how devastating corruption has led to this country backsliding economically, politically, socially. And we have seen the repercussion. We have seen how insecurity have taken over. Even here in Abuja, you can no longer move freely the way you used to move some years back because of courtesy of corruption, because the personnel are not motivated, the equipment, no arms, no ammunition. To many of the security, our soldiers are being killed like ants, because they are not given the necessary facilities and equipment. We have seen how even government itself arrested some, official who have corner money that is meant for the welfare of the army officers. You have seen how some money have been also traced in the UK that are meant to buy arms and ammunition, but some people decided to chop that money. You've seen how even in the previous government did a lot of shouting over deals, arm procurement deals. Up to now, we have not heard anything that have been recovered. So they are putting the jeopardy of even the security personnel, because the money, the trillion that have been budgeted for, Nigerians can't see really the value of that in terms of their safety and protection. Equally important, even this, electricity, you can see how much billions or trillions we have spent in this country trying to have electricity. Nigerians are facing more darkness, courtesy of corruption. We have seen how the public procurement is completely being undermined in this country. You have seen so much that you cannot even get admission. You have to pay bribe. You cannot get, you cannot go to hospital to get public service. So virtually every public services in this country,
a grim picture that you have painted.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
wow.
we can overcome this if we are determined to do that, because you have to kill political corruption, you have to kill judicial corruption, you have to deal with all those opportunities that some people use to for personal gains. If you do that, it is possible that we can be able to not only move one space, but also tremendously have significant improvement in the way and manner our fighting corruption is rated.
The report is that this is an evolving threat, corruption. I mean, that's the way it's been described, an evolving threat. So the question is, how dangerous and destructive is this phenomenon in terms of democracy, the way it is practiced, right down to the basics, the parties, internal democracy, instability, and human rights?
You can see that clearly how devastating it is. Now you can no longer, conduct election free, fair in this country. You have to do vote buying. You have to undermine the internal democracy in the political party system in the country to even emerge. They have killed even membership, active membership in the political party system. You have some people who are the leaders or who are the fathers and mothers of the political party. So one person decides who becomes senator, who becomes House of Rep, who become, even councillor. That is the kind of system you have in the political party. There's no genuine political party membership that allows members' participation in the decision making, and ownership of the party. So you have to fix that. That's why we've been calling for political party reforms in the country, so that it is no longer this kind of system where, it is only the governor, the president who are the, people that decide everything. As it is now, whatever the president wants, that is what will happen at the ruling party, for example, at the national level. At the state level, whatever the governor wants is what will happen. That is not what is obtainable in Nigeria in the First Republic and the Second Republic. You have a clear distinction between the party officials and the government that is in place, But now, since Obasanjo came to make himself, to combat himself as party leader, that's how this continues to happen in the country. So the president is everything. In the Second Republic, you see when the ruling party, which was MPN, you see the party leader at that time, you would see he was very prominent.
You talk about party supremacy.
Exactly. And you see the president playing his own role, But in this system, since 1999, you could see that everything has been coerced, everything it is centered around the president or the governor. So we have to do something.
Secondly, go ahead.
Secondly, you have to do something about judicial corruption in this country. Nigerians are completely losing confidence in the ability of our judiciary to dispensate justice, because some people are procuring judgment, even not to be, cautioned for corruption they perpetrated in their state or in any public office. You cannot have such kind of system that a judge will give a perpetual injunction that after you have looted the state or the office you occupied, that nobody should even ask question, not talk of, investigating you, not talk of even asking your associate. This is the kind of judgment that some judges are giving. There's no way democracy can flourish with such kind of sin. So you rig election, you say, let's meet in the court. And now court is taken over the role of INEC. Judiciary have taken the role of INEC.
Now,
thirdly, the civil space that had been undermined, is also another pointer to how democracy cannot flourish. If you undermine the press freedom, you undermine civil society to raise issues around human rights abuses, around corruption, and you frame them, jail them, attack them because they speak about the evils of some people, then definitely there's no way you can have a flourishing democracy that we want, because these are indicators on how democracy actually works, and these are the tenets of democracy, which is on the basis of principle of accountability, transparency, public participation, and freedom of expression. And if you block all those, there's no way you can actually have a flourishing democracy that will allow ventilation of ideas and constructive criticism that will lead to improved governance in the country. Sadly, this is what we are experiencing.
At the risk of maybe having you repeat yourself, is one thing to talk about the problems, We've sung it like a song in this part of the world, corruption. But for example, the talk is that under this Tinubu's administration, there has been no major significant improvement when it comes to corruption. The question to ask is why? And what do we really need to do as a nation to fight this monster? You had me read, it's like it's a laissez-faire, nobody seems to bother about. It seems to be a way of life.
Okay, so let me repeat once again for clarity and for Nigerians to understand what this report is. We are not assessing the anti-corruption agencies in terms of their performance. What Nigerians are being presented here is the public sector corruption. So it's not about assessing the ICPC, EFCC, Code of Conduct, NFIU, and even the Nigerian police.
Shouldn't we?
No, this report is not centered around that.
Right.
But other reports, like the one that UNODC have done, like the one that ICPC have also done, they are all, looking at those, this. But this one is looking at public sector corruption, and we are hoping that the recommendation we, provide here, government will see reason to implement them so that we can reduce the consequences of the corruption that we are all facing. As Nigerian, if you carry Nigerian passport, you travel, they will not see you just as an individual sent. No, you are from Nigeria, and therefore Nigeria is being seen as a country that everything goes well. It is a country that allows oil theft. Out of all the countries in the world that are producing oil in this world, it's only Nigeria that it has what is called oil theft, and they are.
Okay, let me just before we let you go, there are also criticism that talks that NGOs sponsored by maybe organizations like you said engage in corrupt practices themselves, embezzlement, misappropriation, even sometimes ghost projects, and then your accounts are not even audited.
I am not too sure if this, well, to the best of my knowledge, my organization that I belong to, that I associated with, they did not fall into that category because we are registered and we file our taxes, we comply with all the rules and regulations that the Nigerian government has set. So if you have some ghost group or pestilence group that usually some government official actually organize them, in order to promote certain interests, we are not part of them. You know me, for the past...
Well, somebody said, who do you submit?
Listen, for the past 30 years, I have been, in development work.
Course.
Nobody had come to say I have done X, Y, Z. All the organizations that I belong to have been blacklisted for doing any corruption or for doing any wrong things. In fact, as a matter of fact, no donor will give you $1 or €1 or £1 when he knows that you are actually not upright and you are not accountable. So it's easy to steal government money than to steal money from the development partners. So anybody who tells you that these are things that are said to discourage people, but you have groups that are faceless, they have no address, they don't have any integrity. You see them, government giving them money to come and attack genuine organizations, like, for example, some people in government will give money to come and attack Transparency International or attack Serap or attack Amnesty International just because they do not want this group to continue to say the truth. So we have to distinguish. There are organizations, The genuine organizations, everybody knows them. If you go to their offices, you will find them. If you Google who are the leaders there, you will find them. They have board, they have system, they have protocols, they have policies that guide their action. But those other ones that you hear them, coalition of this and this, supporting corruption, promoting, corrupt people, they are not NGO. Please, let's distinguish these commercial groups that are coming to spoil the good work of the NGO.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much, Auwal Rafsanjani, Executive Director, Civil Society, Legislative Advocacy Center, CISLAC. Thank you for being on the Rights Prime.
Thank you very much.